Alright, so welcome back. Now, common problem with these old Chevys is the tailgate glass doesn't go up and down very well at all. I think I fixed that. Does yours go down that well? Or go up that well? Let me show you how we fixed that one. These old Chevys are held in. The back panel is always held in with just a handful of screws. So you got 3 through here, one, 2 up here, 1 down, and 3 along the side. That'll take that back cover off for you. And then we'll get into the bolts that actually hold the panel in place. Okay, once you get that trim panel off, that was the Silverado package, so it actually folds over and is a little bit different than the rest, where it comes with the inside weather stripping or window felt. None, needless to say, the non-Silverado package will work, but you end up having to trim off a little section of that trim panel, and it'll work just fine for you. What you're met with at this point is the actual protective panel of the tailgate, and you can be held in with a handful of screws there as well. Okay, here we are. Here's the nuts and bolts of what you're dealing with. Now what I did to fix this is I actually ran a 10 gauge wire from the battery on a breaker all the way through the vehicle, and I brought it in right here through this corrugated tubing. Brought it in to the main harness, and I ran it over here to the motor. Over here, I installed 2 relays and spliced that into the factory harness system. Wire in and hooking it to the relay system. So what I ended up finding is I brought the big blue wire, brought it in and spliced it into the main harness. Pretty much you can see just a little bit of it right there. From there I split it and ran it into the power side of the relays. On those relays I keyed the power into the relays and then figured out which wire was tickling the relay to actually send power to the motor. That way the motor is supplied power, direct power off the battery, and it doesn't have to go through the switch, either switch. This is where the Achilles heel was in these old trucks, is that the power was sent through the switch, and then from the switch it went to the actual motor. Whereas on this, it now goes straight to the motor and is activated by the switch. Here's a shot of the inner workings. I put this in about 2 years ago, and we instantly made a trip across country. During that trip, the motor failed on me twice. What it ended up happening was through the vibration, these relays would work their way out, because I originally had them kind of turned downward, and the relays themselves would walk out of their actual coupler. I had to make this bracket and hang it in here in order to support the relays, because there's no place in here that the window doesn't touch. So tucking them back in here was my best option. I originally had them mounted back in under here, but then that vibration ended up having the relays fall out. So it'd go up or down one direction or the other, and I couldn't get the actual window down to open the tailgate to work on it. So I ended up having to crawl in through the side doors a few times to get the back panel taken apart in the middle of a rainstorm, etc. Kind of irritating, but like I said, we're doing the barn door conversion pretty soon, so all this is going to come out. But I did want to show it to you in case you needed to fix your tailgate the way I fixed mine. This is my conglomeration of wire in here. I'm not going to take it apart, but these blocks are actually available through NAPA, and they usually bring them pre-wired. It doesn't take much. There's only about 3 wires coming into this entire setup to be able to tell you which one goes where. Again, my big blue wire that I ran in, which is this guy right here that you can barely see, and then it's spliced and goes over to the main power side of each one of the relays. The relays, if you get the ones from NAPA, I think it's AR272, they'll actually have this little diagram on there that'll tell you which one actually has power and which one doesn't. But like I said, the motor's good. It's been in there for a long time, but this fixed our problem for now, along with a good bit of grease on the actual gears themselves, and solved it for a while. And then, like I said, we're going to the barn door conversion next. But also, word of warning to you, if you're in here working on these things, grease your latches on either side, because the latches do tend to stick on these old barn door styles, or these old tailgate styles, I'm sorry. especially when you put in a new gasket through here. And if you are going to decide to do the barn door conversion, these panels come out all the way across the top up here. And then your framework is the same as barn door versus tailgate, except that after about 85, the tailgate versions had the nadir pin, and your barn doors had the reinforcements in here for the actual the hinges for the barn door system. They were unique to their model at that point. Prior to that, people say that the holes were drilled and the mounts were there, you just had to knock them out. I don't know exactly, but we're soon to find out. So, quick little tip. Relay system works very, very well. Even the switch on the dash works real, real well for these things. Just watch your connections, and like I said, run that big wire all the way to the rear, and you'll have uninterrupted power. Okay, quick little explanation here. Black wire is your ground wire, and I ended up having to splice in a little bit of white right here just to make the ground connection there. And then screw where this black wire actually runs back out and grounds to my chassis through my frame. The other black wire in here is, I think, goes into the relay wad, and then red to red, and the blue wires in here were my directional wires. Okay, here it is. Another one of the black ones off of the relay itself. So, but don't be afraid to tickle these wires and take them where you need to go, because they'll reveal themselves as to which ones are which. And on these relays, you're going to have a half dozen grounds and a half dozen positives there, as long as you find the wire that then reverses the motor. Your blue one and your tan with a white stripe, that's the one that kicks the motor going one direction or the other. So you're going to be supplying power on one and catching power on the other, or you're going to be vice versa. And it's all based off of the relay itself here. So really, they're not that hard, but like I said, running that uninterrupted power supply from the battery all the way back is your biggest deal. That's what's going to get you where you need to go. And then tying your switch wires in, which is right here. That's the other alternative switch wire coming off of the key switch in the tailgate area. So it took me a couple hours on a Saturday afternoon to figure this all out and get it put together. So I believe if this dumb old hillbilly can do it, you can do it too. Hope that helps you. So improvise, adapt, and overcome. Catch you on the next round.